that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Apple's in a suing kind of mood. They woke up and said, I want to sue somebody today. You know who I'm going to sue? I think I'm going to sue a movie theater chain. Because according to the Hollywood Reporter, Apple is suing a movie theater chain with the same name as their company. It's called Apple Cinemas.
Man.
Now, this is interesting. This is actually interesting. And I'm going to be curious to know whose side you fall on here. Because it's tougher than you might think. Listen, they write this. In June, a relatively unknown East Coast movie theater chain announced that it had signed a lease in San Francisco to take over a historical cinema and retail space previously occupied by AMC Theaters and CGV Cinemas. The opening was a part of an aggressive expansion that includes plans to roll out 100 more locations nationwide to become one of the larger exhibitors in North America over the next decade. That exhibitor is called Apple Cinemas, but not the Cupertino-based tech monolith, which is now going to court in a bid to force the company to change its name. So here's some of the interesting things here. The name Apple Cinemas came out of the fact that they were started as a movie theater in the Apple Valley something mall, like the Apple Valley Regional Mall or something like that. So they had, well, we're in the Apple Valley region, we call it the Apple Cinema. So as they've been expanding and growing, they just kept the name Apple Cinema. So they would say, listen, Apple, we've been called, you don't have the trademark on the word Apple. Apples are apples. And we were there because we were called Apple. We were Apple Cinemas because we were in the Apple Valley Mall. So there's that. What Apple is hitting back with is, bring this picture up again. They only recently added that little Apple logo.
It doesn't have a bite in it.
But it's strips of celluloid.
So they're like, wait a minute. Like, Apple's argument here in their court filings is that Apple Cinemas is deliberately trying to give the impression that they may be associated with Apple, the company. They also point out in their legal filings that in some of their in the theater's recent negotiations for terms for leases, the landlords have been under the impression that they were with the Apple company. And Apple is saying, that's not good. Like, it's not good if people are out there thinking they're dealing with us when they are in fact not dealing with us. And we want them to change their name. So, and especially with them planning to open 100 new locations. Rob, this is one of those situations where I honestly think this is a place where the circumstances were the enemy. Like, they started off in a place called Apple Valley thing. So they were Apple Cinemas, and they've just always just kept their name expanding. But it is now causing problems. They're not causing them themselves or intending to cause problems, but it is causing some problems and it is causing some confusion. Apple even says in one of their court filings that a landlord gave Apple Cinemas a favorable lease terms because he thought they were associated with Apple. By the way, you know what it reminds me of? Back when I ran AMC's online stuff for YouTube.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
You knew I was going to go there with this, right? Constantly people believed we were associated with AMC, the television network.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I worked for AMC for over a year before I realized we weren't the same company. Anthony Hopkins. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things ever. First time I meet Anthony Hopkins, go in, shake his hand, and I'm like, I'm with AMC Theaters. And he says something along the lines, I'm terribly fond of I watch the TV network all the time, terribly fond of you guys. And I said to him, actually, common mistake. Even I thought that, but actually the TV network and the theaters were totally separate companies. And he paused for a second and goes, no, I'm fairly certain you're the same company. Who am I to argue with Anthony Hopkins?
He was very convincing.
Yeah. So I just went with it. But I mean, so it kind of reminds me a little bit of that because I even worked for AMC and I didn't realize we weren't the same company. So Rob, I put it to you. They grew their business totally fair, square, and legit.
Yeah.
But it is causing confusion in the business world. And Apple is concerned that people think they're dealing with Apple when they're not. I don't know. Whose side do you come down on here?
Well, first of all, if you're going to go to court, the fact that there is confusion in the marketplace is a very strong indicator.
And a very strong argument to make.
It's a very strong argument to make. And having gone through, because of our Star Trek fan film, one of the things that I took great pride in is the scene I directed was cited by CBS as creating confusion in the marketplace from the Star Trek we were making to actual Star Trek. And
Right.
that was the crux of the argument, that we had created confusion as to what was real Star Trek and what wasn't. So I would say that, look, the Apple logo, you could say, well, one logo has a bite taken out of it and the other does not. It's not going to matter. It's the landlord thing with thinking they're dealing with Apple. That is where they have I would say a pretty ironclad case. Not the fact that you want to go up against one of the richest companies that's ever existed on planet Earth.
Right. By the way, I want to
battle.
put this out there. One of our viewers, King Daddy Goat, said Apple Cinemas, that must be from the phone company. If Apple was just a phone company, then I think this is a cut clear thing. But Apple isn't just a phone company now. They're a movie studio. They have a streaming network. They are a production company and in the movie business. So it does create a little bit of confusion.
And as a company logo, it looks like they've just taken their Apple logo and turned it into the wrapped up celluloid. No, I think that they should just, apples to oranges.
Oh.
Make it oranges, orange cinema.
They just call it not that Apple Cinemas.
Not that Apple Cinemas.
I mean, look, they're going to have to change it.
Well, look.
They should capitulate. You don't want to go into a protracted legal battle with Apple.
No,
what you do is you go, you know what? We're happy to change it.
Yeah, you're expanding 100. Now's the time to create a new brand identity for yourself.
And since we're willing to back our play, or if you want to back our play, we're happy to change it, happy to do what you want. Give us some money. Give us a discount on your movies and we'll put them in theaters. We'll promote them. You had F1 this summer. Why don't we partner up with you guys?
There's an even simpler answer here, I think. And I saw one of our viewers kind of mention this as well. Apple should just buy them. Listen, Apple is now in the movie business. The Paramount Accords, or whatever they were called before, that forbade studios from owning cinema chains, those laws were just removed a couple of years ago. It's still a smallish company. I think Apple should just, honestly, I mean, and it's chump change. Literally, Tim
but then they have to
reach into his pocket and pull out bus fare for him and literally buy this theater chain.
But then there's oversight and they have to deal with all. I mean,
unless they use them as their they're a subsidiary of Apple. So then the management team is still in place.
Yeah, just buy the whole thing and continue. Let them continue running.
I
don't know. They have the opportunity to change their name to Big Banana.
Yeah, or listen, go back to what it was.
Yes, that Apple
Remember
Cinemas.
they started in Apple Valley Mall?
Right.
Call it Apple Valley Cinemas.
Yeah,
Right,
that fixes it right there.
Or maybe they'll say, well, that creates confusion because what if you're not in the Apple Valley? I don't know.
But if you give the owners of Apple Cinemas part of that deal John's talking about before that, Apple stock and options,
there you go.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
But Apple Valley, you could do a cool logo with some kind of a mountain valley thing with the apples, the sun.
I agree.
But giving them in stock is a good idea. You know why?
Because then the owners.
Some of you guys might remember my wife was one of the people over at Apple for a while. She ran this whole thing for them, and her job there at the time was overseeing iPad product launches. That was her main thing there. But one of the ways they compensate you at Apple is by giving you Apple stock, like a lot of other companies. That's done really well for us. And when Ann left and she was there long enough that her stock vested, that stock had become more valuable to us than any of the salary she ever got. So we still have it. So that's right. If you're Apple Cinema, just take some of the stock and do whatever they want you to do. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, normally our first instinct is go with we'll side with the little guy over the big Goliath, but Apple does kind of have a point here. But then again, Apple Cinemas didn't really do anything wrong. However you guys see this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.